Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about pursuing medical billing and coding later in life. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys. So, I often get this question of, Blue, I'm in my late 20s. Is it too late for me to start in medical billing and coding? No. Blue, I'm in my 30s. I don't know if I can start a new career. Yes, you can. Blue, I'm in my 40s and I'm starting all over again. Yes, you can. Can I do medical coding? Absolutely. I'm in my 50s, Blue, and this is going to be my second career, and I just don't know. Is it too late for me? It is not. Blue, I'm in my 60s. Is it too late for me? No, it isn't. And the reason that I say this is because I went to school with a lady who was age 61, and she got her job in coding, and she is still coding today, and I've been in the industry for 15 years. So you do the math. When it comes to age and it comes to backgrounds, medical billing and coding welcomes people from all ages and stages of life. All backgrounds are welcome. If you can pass the certification exam, you can certainly find your first job, guys. You can do it. There's a lot of people who say, well, I'm worried about age discrimination. When you think about that, there's a lot of things that people are worried about that really don't apply. And that is one of them because, again, we are a melting pot of different ages, different stages, and different backgrounds completely. So don't worry about that. Now, if you're a little bit older, then just know that the person who's in charge of you, who the supervisor is, may be your age or they may be younger than you. Okay, so that's something that you have to be willing to accept, right? And that's the thing that, people who come into the industry older, that are in their 50s and 60s, they often think about that. And that's the thing that kind of scares them off. But if you overthink about an industry that you haven't been in yet, but maybe you wanted to pursue it before, but life kind of got in the way, but now it's your time to pursue the things that you want to do. Well, this is the time to go for it. I mean, you can't sit on the sidelines and wonder what would have been, what might have been. You still have plenty of time to have another career, believe it or not, right? Because, I mean, it's entirely up to you and as much effort as you want to be able to put into getting into this career field. Now, again, if you are in your late 20s, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, there's still plenty of time to start in a career. Think about that. What is the age for retirement? It gets pushed back every time we turn around, right? But that's the thing. This is a career field that you can grow with. It doesn't get boring, certainly not. But if you are a lifelong learner and you want to do this, this is waiting for you, but you just have to apply yourself, and you have to kind of get that out of your mind. You have to stop thinking about that because that's not really relevant to what is needed for medical coders. What is needed for medical coding and the type of person that would make an excellent medical coder is somebody who studies and is willing to go with the changes, because there's changes every year to these guidelines and there's changes every year to the code set. So you have to be willing to accept change. You have to be ready and on your feet to be like, okay, I'm going to take these new changes and I'm going to apply them. I'm going to do all the things that I need to stay current, because this industry changes and it evolves. In the last, since 2000, of course, we've seen a lot of changes. And even before that, with HIPAA coming into the scene in the 90s. So that's just something that, you have to think about, is that it's always changing. And if you want to be along for that change, then you shouldn't let your age stop you. I mean, a lot of people let a lot of things, well, I can't because I don't have this, or I can't because I don't have that, or, I don't have an extensive background. But, if you put aside all of that stinking thinking, right? I call it stinking thinking. The stuff that, I mean, it's just a natural part of, life, right? As the days go on, you get older. I mean, that's just the ins and outs of it, And people will say, well, Blue, I don't want to have to start all over again. Well, I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to, and certainly no one is forcing you. But if this is something that you want to pursue, then you can't let all these other external factors get to you. The naysayers, the people who will tell you that, oh no, you're too old to start again, or no, you're not smart enough. That pisses me off. When I hear that, it really does make me mad. Because when I was in school for medical coding, it was a trade school, and the trade school is no longer there. So don't ask me who it is. But when I went to school and we were in these, it wasn't a class, it was like a seminar. I sat in on a couple of them, but the guy who was talking was kind of weird and So yeah, I never went to any more after that. But when I was with the girls, they were older than me. I was in my late 20s at the time. And mid 20s, late 20s, So anyway, I was right in the middle of that, and these ladies were in their 40s, and they were saying how their families were telling them they were too old, and they were second guessing themselves. And I said, why would you let somebody else who's not on your same path dictate to you what you should do with your future? You're still young. And they were like, you think so? And I'm like, I know so. You're still young. And as long as you study and you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And they go, oh, you're idealistic. Maybe so. But again, I wouldn't listen to people who are not on my same path. And that's the problem, is that there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions. Of course, we live in the social media age now. Everything is about everybody else's opinion, and people are quite brave behind the keyboard and thinking that they can say whatever it is that they want to say. So when people are researching this field and they go into Facebook medical coding groups because they think that that's where they can find camaraderie. And I always have somebody disagreeing with me. Oh, Blue, no, I have a very supportive Facebook group. Well, I mean, that may be the case, and that may be what you see. But the person who goes in and says, well, I'm in my 50s or I'm in my 60s, they have said to me that, well, they said that I was too old and I shouldn't do this. Why? And who makes them judge and jury to say that you should do coding or not? It's your future. It's your life. It's whatever you want to do. And if you sit there and you hem and haw and you think about all these other people and their opinions, that they have no bearing on your life when you think about it, right? These people in these Facebook medical coding groups, they have no bearing on your life. None. Because who is living this life? You. And if this is something that you want to do, is the growing process of a coder painful? Absolutely. Absolutely. It is painful, because it will humble you. It will make you think, do I know as much as I think I know? And all of the hours that are spent studying will seem long, and it will sometimes be a lonely path, because you are the only one that is on this path. And oftentimes people are not surrounded by other coders during this time, or they're surrounded by people who are trying to convince them don't do it. When all along, what are they doing in their life? What are they doing that they have so much time to tell you about your life? Right? What are they doing? And if it's that, you don't have a supportive partner, and maybe they just don't believe in you, guys, it's when you have to believe in yourself. That's when you have to turn the tables and be like, no, I'm not going to have somebody else's opinion cloud me from what I want to do. If you want to do this, there's a reason. I believe that everything that happens in life happens for a reason. And I really do believe that when people are presented with medical billing and coding, and that strong desire happens, or even that desire doesn't even have to be there in the beginning part. I know that when I was presented with this, I did not have that immediate, like, oh my gosh, I want to be a medical coder. I didn't even know what medical coding was when I got into it. It wasn't until my case manager told me about it. I was unemployed, and he said, I think this would be a really good field for you. And I had a whole idea planned out. I wanted to take their accounting course because I could do people's books, and I could work for myself, and I could do all these things because I'm a numbers person, right? I like numbers. But, he was like, well, why don't you try medical coding? And because I knew everything. Right? I said, oh no, I don't want to do that because I don't work with needles, because I knew, right? And he's like, no, it's not needles. it's working with documentation, and you're reading all day. And he said, you learn a lot, and it's a big industry, and it's always, there's a need for medical coders. And so I said, okay, well, I'll look into it. He goes, look into it, go to the schools, visit the schools. He goes, if you decide you don't want to do it, that's fine. He goes, come back and we'll get you in the accounting program. I said, okay, fair enough. This is going to be free education anyway. So, who was I to turn my nose at, free education, right? So, this is why I say medical coding found me, because I certainly did not seek it out. I did not know anything about it until I started going to these schools, and I started seeing the people explain it to me. The first two schools were trying to sell. And they were trying to push. They go, oh, you're going to make so much money, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you can work at home, and you can do all these things, and rah. And it was just a sales pitch. And I knew it. I could feel it. And I was just like, no, this is not the school for me. And I get to the last school, and then that's when I met the recruiter for that school. She was a nice lady. And she was like, what do you know about medical coding? And I go, I don't know anything. I'm just here. And then she goes, okay, well, let me talk to you about this. So she took time, explained everything to me. And I was just like, oh, wow, And so then she was explaining all the things that we do as coders. And I said, okay, I think I like this. And then at the end, she talked about the money. But when she talked about the money, she talked about it in ways, and we don't go into money and specifics on this channel. I'm just saying. But because there's plenty of people who will try to sell the field based on the money, and people get blinded by the money rather than what you're actually supposed to do. So that's why I don't ever go for that hot pursuit of like, oh yeah, it's this, is that. You never will find a video on my channel about that. Never. Because of the simple fact that there's plenty of people who already do it, and I don't want to be part of that. I want to be part of the people who are wanting to be in this industry and wanting to be strong, and they'll discover all the benefits of being a medical coder, okay? But she mentioned at the end how much you start with, and it was a decent wage. I was like, oh, okay, this will work. So that's what I did. I picked that school, and it was all about like, you sit in front of the computer and you learn. And that was it. And there was people of all ages in there, all ages that went, and they're, learning medical billing and coding. And guys, it's whatever you want to do with your life, really, really and truly. And if you go on social media, like on Instagram, you'll see people from every age range going into different fields. Now, because I'm a medical coder, and because I have my Instagram for Medical Coding with Bleu, a lot of it is medical. So it's going to give you a lot of recommendations of other creators on Instagram. And so some of them that I see, they're older, they're in their 40s, and they're going to medical school. Just now going to medical school. And so there's a lot of people that they say, well, they talk about them that, they're older, and well, what's wrong with an older student? An older student is going to want to study because they know that they want to get into this career, but they have to play catch up, right? Because, all these years that they've so-called missed, and that's not really the case, guys. Your life is what you make of it, whether it is that you want to do this or you want to do something else. You can't let your age cloud your judgment. If you're willing to do things correctly, as far as like doing your studies, and when you're putting together your resume, going back on your resume 10 to 15 years, because that's all they need to see. They don't need to see that you worked in the 90s. Okay, guys, they don't care. They don't care about that. They care about the last 10 to 15 years, because when they run a background check, that's as far back as they're probably going to go. If they go back any further than that, they'll let you know. And they'll ask you for that job history. But for the most part, when you are putting out your resume, you don't want to date yourself. You don't want them to say, oh, well, they might be set in their ways. You want them to be so excited when they see your resume. You're like, gosh, this person is qualified. They get right to the point. They tell us everything that we need to know and everything that we want to hear, as far as like, okay, this is the skills that they're bringing, not lies. You want to tell the truth, obviously with your skills, but that's what they want to see. They don't want to see you wasting their time and giving 3 or 4 or 5 page resumes, because they don't have time for that. They got time for 1 page. 1 page. Get it down to a 1 pager. And you may have had you may have been a medical secretary in the 80s or even in the 90s, and you may think that would be helpful for you to get your foot in the door because you had some experience before. But it's really irrelevant, because that time is so far back, and there's been so many changes in the industry that it doesn't really count anymore. And would you even remember what you did back then? The processes and stuff. So that's something that you have to think about. But again, if you're older, you're coming in with a lot more skill, a lot more transferable skill that employers would be very excited for. Okay, so that's something that you have to think about. You have to look at all of your experience as a gift and not as a burden, as like, oh my gosh, they're not going to want to hire me because I'm older. No, I mean, guys, think about that. It's a whole new world as far as like, acceptance and inclusion and things like that. And if somebody tells you otherwise, that's their negative thinking. I know enough from what I see and the messages that I get, all the emails that I get, all the comments that I get from older workers who are successful and who have been able to find jobs because of their persistence. And sometimes they weren't so sure about it, and they will tell me too, Blue, I wasn't so sure, but I heard your words and you encouraged me and you inspired me, you motivated me. That's right. That's right. Because again, it is your life. And sometimes we as adults have to be reminded of that. We have to be reminded. We have to be reminded that, we have to advocate for ourselves. Because I'll tell you what, even if you think, oh, well, it's just because I'm older. No, you think younger people don't have a hard time? Think about that. Think about that. I talk often about the gentleman that graduated high school, and he found his first job in medical coding 6 months later, but he is doing wonderfully, wonderfully, and he is thriving. But that was one thing that he worried about too, was he too young? Was he going to get in there and be too young? And he's a male. So that's the other thing too, that was like, it's a woman-dominated industry. Yes, it is. It's a lot of women that are in this industry. But it doesn't mean that men can't make their mark. That's just like how men nurses came up in the industry. It's the same thing with medical coders and men that are medical coders. Because again, it welcomes everybody. And I have always encouraged males to get into medical coding because I think it's a wonderful balance in the industry. We need people from every walk of life too to be able to get into this, because there's no telling who's going to be able to connect and what gifts everybody's going to be able to bring to the table, right? And in the case of the young gentleman that graduated high school and got his first job in medical coding and now he's thriving, think about all the exuberant energy that he brings and the way that he's studious and the way that he's very tenacious when it comes to coding. It is so admirable, and I am proud to call him a personal friend of mine because he gets it. He understands coding, and I love when we can just nerd out and we talk about coding, because I love it, and he loves it. And so it's a joy to see. It's a joy to see that in the generation that's coming up, that exuberant energy. I love that. And that can be for any age and stage, guys, anyone, trust me. But it's all on you, and it's all on your willingness to get in there and stop thinking about all those stinking thinking things. My age, I can't. Try saying that, yes, you can. Try saying that, yes, you can. There's nothing that can stop you but you. Nothing that can stop you but you. Nobody's words can stop you but you. Because trust me, there will be people who will try to stop you. There's people who try to stop me all the time. Do you think I listen? No. No, I don't. Why? Because it's my life. It's what I want to do. And as long as I'm helping at least one person, I know I'm doing the right thing. And I will continue to do it too. I'm just saying. So, again, guys, this is a great and worthwhile field. I say that all the time. But it's not made for everybody, okay? It's not made for quitters. It's not made for people who don't want to do their research. It's not made for those who are not trying to get in and get their hands dirty as far as like looking through the books and doing all the heavy lifting. You know, if you're not into that, this isn't for you. But if you are, this may be for you, right? So, but that's my advice anyway. But guys, get in there and just ignore all that. Ignore all the naysayers. You study and you get in there and you get your certification, and then you get out there and you arm yourself with a wonderful resume. I have tip videos on my channel about, you know, what I recommend, because, you know, these employers are looking at these resumes. Look through those videos and get those tips and, you know, do your resume up. Okay, guys? I mean, there's a ton of resume writers on LinkedIn. I'm a resume writer myself. My rate and contact information is in the description box below. But I always believe you guys can do this work too, guys. You guys can do your resume. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.